guys, today I'm doing my February wrap up and this month I read 12 books, which is kind of crazy. What happened was, you saw my TBR from last month, I'm sure. There were a heap of books on there, and then I reserved a bunch of books at the library thinking that they've got kind of a long waiting list, they probably won't come in until next month. A lot of them came in straight away, so some of the books that I had planned on reading I didn't get around to, so I'll have to read them next month. I ended up reading 12 books, like I said, it's a whole lot, so I'm just going to get into it and show you what I read this month. The first book I read was Splintered by A.G. Howard. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and to be honest, I didn't love it. I really liked the concept behind this book. It was a really interesting idea. I wasn't a huge fan of the writing style, but as far as I'm aware, this was A.G. Howard's first book, so I'm sure that the writing style changes and possibly improves throughout the rest of the series, so I'm still going to keep reading the series. I didn't particularly identify with any of the characters or anything like that, even though it was a cool idea. There's also a love triangle in this book that I really didn't like. I generally don't like love triangles. But yeah, like I said, it's cool concepts. I always love Alice in Wonderland retellings, so yeah, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read this month was Fangirl by Rambo Rowell. I've already got a full review of this up on my channel, so I'll link it down below if you want to know more about my thoughts on this book. But to sum it up, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read this month is by a New Zealand author. It's Guardian of the Dead by Karen Healy. This is a YA urban fantasy. It's about a girl who is going to boarding school, and the main magical creatures that are introduced in this book are called Patu Paerehi, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think I am. I was stoked that that was included in this book because Patu Paerehi are creatures that I've always had an interest in. They kind of pop up in not only legends and stuff in New Zealand, but almost in history. They were like fairy people. So I was really stoked that that was an idea that was included in this book. I do think that they introduced too many other mythical creatures as well and overcomplicated it, in my opinion. It was a little bit hard to follow and stuff for that reason. And then our main character, you kind of never really find out what she has to do with anything. She kind of just gets thrown into it, but it doesn't really explain why she's involved as such. Final interesting thing I will say about this book is that the main character is named Ellie, spelt E-L-L-I-E. If you guys have read any Jacqueline Wilson books, she had a series of books called Girls, and it was like Girls in Tears, Girls in Love, Girls Under Pressure, and Girls Out Late or something like that, and the main character in that book was called Ellie, and there are a lot of comparisons I can draw between these two characters. I was kind of thinking that to myself, like, oh, that's interesting, she's named the same as Jacqueline Wilson's character and has some of the same characteristics, like, interesting coincidence. And then I flipped the page over and lo and behold, one of the other characters in this book is named Magda, and one of the other characters in Jacqueline Wilson's girls books is also named Magda, and I was like, okay, that's definitely not a coincidence. So I'm sure that Karen Healy also liked the girls books possibly as much as I did, and she's been inspired by that and named some of her characters after them, which is, you know, fair enough. But it was just weird to me. I suddenly was aware of the author thinking about what she was writing, and it's kind of weird. I really liked that this was a New Zealand urban YA fantasy. That's awesome, and I liked that it had Patu Paerehi in it, and I think that's a really cool idea. The next books I read 3 in a series, and it's Jessica Darling's It List, so 1, 2 and 3. I was only going to read the first one, but then, like I said in my TBR, I accidentally picked up the third one first, so I was like, oh well, I'll just get them all, and if I like them, I'll read all of them, and I did like the first one, so I read all of them. This I read because it's coming out as a movie, and Blair Fowler is playing the older sister in these books called Bethany, and when I was reading this, I was like, Bethany is so Blair. Blair is going to play that character so well. But I did really like these books. They're just good middle grade contemporary about a girl who's trying to deal with friends and popularity and all that kind of thing. I really liked the writing style. Often in middle grade, the narrator can be really irritating just because of the age that they are and their outlook on things and stuff. The narration in this was actually not irritating at all. It was great. I was having like flashbacks from when I was in school because it was so relatable. If you want a laugh, I would totally recommend reading it. I don't know if I said ratings. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. These I gave 3.5, 3.5 and then 3. This I only gave a 3 to just because I enjoyed the first 2, and then the third one it was kind of like getting a bit repetitive, and also the ending in this one was a bit of a downer. The next book I read is Obsidian, which is the first Lux novel by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Firstly, I just want to say I don't like this cover, but anyway, I liked this book. It reminded me a whole lot of Twilight. Swapped the vampires and werewolves for aliens and other aliens. I really liked Kat because she's into books and stuff, and she was a super relatable character. I didn't really like the romance in this book though, just because Damon is a bit of a dick, and I know he's meant to be, but I didn't really enjoy the romance that was going on until I got towards the end, and for some reason I started picturing Damon as Jess and Kat as Rory from Gilmore Girls, and then all of a sudden everything that came out of his mouth was making sense, and Kat's reactions were making sense, and the chemistry was making sense, and the tension was making sense, and everything just felt right. So I kind of want to reread this picturing it like that the whole way through, because I'm a big like Rory and Jess, I ship them so hard. I'm really excited, by the way, about the Gilmore Girls revival. But yeah, I really want to reread this picturing Damon as Jess, because I feel like that is kind of what the author was going for. If you've read this, tell me what you think of that little comparison, because yeah, I liked it. The next books I read were Calvin Cruikshank's books. So we've got Walking in the Light, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars, and then these 3 all got 3 out of 5 stars. Finding the Path, Inside the Medium, and Bridging the Gap. I've got a review up on these, as well as Calvin Cruikshank's live show. If you're interested in checking that out, it's linked below as well. Calvin Cruikshank is a psychic medium from New Zealand. The final book I read is City of Bones, which is the first Mortal Instruments book by Cassandra Clare. I was so excited to read this. A bunch of girls that I love run this little book club, so I'll link it below because I can't remember what it's called. If you're, I think it's YA Warriors or something like that. I'll link it below if you're interested in checking it out. But this was the book that we were reading for this month. I totally read it towards the end of the month just because I was waiting for it from the library, and I didn't even think I would get it in February, but it came through. It was totally awesome. I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It kept me interested the whole time, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. It impressed me a lot because it was worth the hype. It's really, really good. The end though, the end really wore. If you haven't read this, you should read it, but I kind of thought I was predicting how the story was going, and then this thing happened and I was just like, okay, interesting. Did not see that coming. So yeah, if you've read it, you probably know what I mean. But yeah, that's it for all the books I read this month. I'm gonna try and read less books next month because I felt like I was reading like a whole lot, which is good. But yeah, I will see you guys next time with my TBR for March. We're really getting through the year already, aren't we? Subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.